Hi creative friends, this is Solera and thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to do a flip through of my Painting the Feminine art journal, and I did do a flip through of this particular journal about, I want to say about 5 or 6 months ago, and so obviously I've worked through a lot of the pages from when I last did a flip through, but I'm also going to talk about things that I have learned thus far working in this particular book. But before I get to this, I just wanted to address a comment that I received a few days ago, and this was in regards to the video I made about soul collage. And the person who left the video said that, you know, they were a little bit overwhelmed by, all the new videos and concepts that I have been posting because they were going to work in the Painting the Feminine art journal. And now I introduced this old collage, and there was like a little bit of overwhelm. So I just wanted to address this because I think it's important to, uh, to kind of explain my output and my intentions. So I totally understand the overwhelm. The soul collage video, it might seem really like a lot, like really deep and really like a lot of like it requires a lot of energy to do it. But honestly, you guys, the way I do it, it's such an easy process. Like, it's actually relaxing to me. Now, I don't glue everything down, I don't make the deck of cards, but I just kind of like have my collage loose. And so I will have my morning coffee and I will just ask myself a question. And it's like such an easy going kind of a thing. Now, you can go as deep as you want, and I can still go deep. It's just very relaxing to me. But beyond the soul collage specifically, I just wanted to say that my intentions by putting out my videos is not to overwhelm anybody. And it can be overwhelming because I post most every day. Um, so I'm just going to give you guys a few tips on how to handle that overwhelm. The first thing is, if you click on a video and it's just like overwhelming, I would just suggest you just get off it like right away. Like, don't watch it. Because the last thing you need in your creative practice is overwhelm. Like, you don't need that. There's just no reason for it. And it puts you um, in a state of mind that's not very conducive to creativity because creativity should be a place of freedom and ease and not restriction and overwhelm. It should be a beginner's mind, joy, play, that sort of thing. So if you are feeling overwhelmed by anything that I am posting, then just don't even watch it. But the second part to that is I'm planting seeds. So maybe the soul collage is not for you right now. And the fact that it's overwhelming to, the person who left the comment, is a clear indication that it's not for you right now. So just don't even watch it. But it's a seed that has been planted. And maybe a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, maybe that seed will get a little bit of light somehow, and maybe you'll be more kind of curious about exploring it. I first got that book about 8 or 9 years ago, and it didn't really gel with me at that time. But now I'm totally immersed in it. So these are just little seeds. If you are feeling overwhelmed or like this is just too much, then I would recommend you just don't even watch the video. And I just wanted to say, and I have also said this before, but I think it bears repeating, is that I am in a very high flow state right now. And I am just like consumed with creativity in a way that's almost I don't know, like not manic, but like I'm just so energized. I've just got all these ideas just constantly. But about a month before I started my YouTube channel, I didn't paint for a couple of years, actually, about a year and a half, I want to say. Like, I didn't even pick up a pencil, a paintbrush, nothing, no collage, nothing. And so even though I'm in a high flow state right now and I'm making all these videos, I guess I could put the videos on private and then like release like 2 videos a week, but that's just kind of not my personality. I'm just not like that. I'm like an all or nothing person, and I am fully aware that maybe a year from now or 2 years from now or 5 years from now or whenever, I might go through a dormancy period again where, you know, maybe I'm not gonna post anything for 6 months or whatever it is. So I just like to post my stuff as the ideas come, but if you are overwhelmed by it, then just don't even watch it. And just look at these videos as seeds. Like a seed has been planted, and maybe at some point you might revisit it and maybe you won't. And either way, it's totally fine. So anyways, I'm sorry for that big song and dance, you guys. I'm just going to go into my painting the feminine. Now, I did do a flip through up to a certain point, but I didn't talk about the things that I had learned when I worked through it. Now, if I can remember correctly, because I did start working in this about 3 or 4 years ago when Connie first released the book, and if I remember correctly, this was a blank page, because, you know, when you open up a book, like, there's going to be just like a blank white page, I think. So I did not incorporate any of Connie's work, her actual her actual images. I don't think there was anything on this page. I could be wrong on that. Maybe there was some writing. I don't remember. No, this was blank, because over here it goes, this journal belongs to, and then that is Connie's drawing, and then I use that in my artwork, but everything else was blank. Okay, so what did I learn in here? So this is not my normal way of working. So what I did when I first got this book is I really soaked it in. I went through every single page. I just took my time. I soaked everything in. I, you know, looked at different parts of the page. I isolated parts of the page with my viewfinder, and it was a very like a slow process. Like, I didn't rush it. You know, I would just work through a few pages a day, and I really took my time. So I wanted to know, like, you know, like, what do I love about this page? So before I even started, I had kind of like immersed myself in Connie's visual language. So this is not my normal visual language. This still has Connie's stuff in it, even though it's a blank page, and I hope I'm making sense. So I think what I learned in this particular spread is to make figures that are not like flesh colored, because I did have a kind of a mental block about it. I don't know why. But see, I looked through the book, and, you know, Connie uses all sorts of, like, you know, colors for her figures, and they are fine. They are actually really enticing, and, you know, it makes me curious, and it empowers me, and blah blah blah. So I learned in this spread to, you know, break out of that box of not using colors for the figures, especially the faces. So that was a huge breakthrough for me. Over here, what I learned is to, like, because I used Connie's drawing over here, this is all her stuff, I mimicked it. See, I kind of followed that as an example, and I was mimicking all of that. So, and this is Connie's as well, I think, this part right here. So I learned the power of just a drawing, you know, just a pen and white paper, and to incorporate that into the spread. Now, I also used her stuff over here, and I think over here, one of the biggest takeaways, honestly, is the getting more into the storytelling aspect of my spreads. Like, I'm starting to tell stories to myself, like, you know, this happened, and, you know, this is a mother and daughter, this is you know, a memory or a dream or whatever. And even though I'm not articulating it anywhere, like by writing it down or whatever, I am starting to think more and more about stories, storytelling, what, you know, what do these figures mean to each other, and I'm getting more and more comfortable with articulating that and asking myself these questions, and you know, then painting stories. Now over here, I really love this woman. This is totally not my style, but again, I am being influenced by Connie's work. And if I remember correctly, this is all like just writing, just black and white writing. And I didn't incorporate any of Connie's actual like stuff on my page. I didn't even include the writing, but because I went through each page, I now, these figures are very highly influenced by Connie's work. As you can tell, this is not like it's me, but it's not me, you know? And yeah, see, so this is Connie's writing. So that tells me that all of these pages, there was just writing, but now I've incorporated some of Connie's writing, and then this is Connie's as well. I can't, so what does this say? Our Lady of the Feminine. And I think Connie's talking about, you know, what the feminine means to her, etc. And honestly, I wish I would have kept more of her stuff. That's why I really want to buy another book of the exact same book, but work in it in a different way. And I'll create like completely different art. Anyways, so what I learned in this one, I think, is just to step more and more outside of what is comfortable for me. Like, you know, the hair over here, these like, I don't know what you would call them, but this is totally not my visual language. But, you know, in another way, it's still me. Like, I don't look at this and think it's foreign from me. It's me, but a different version of me, I guess. Now, I really, really, really love this spread. And again, I haven't used any of Connie's images in this work, but I think what I learned in this spread is to go beyond my normal, like usual color palettes. I mean my color palette choices, sorry. I think I learned to step beyond what I normally use, because normally I gravitate towards certain colors, but this is not my color palette. And again, I'm getting very comfortable with drawing and painting colored faces, and that is a huge deal to me. Again, you know, these are not really my figures, not my style, but in another way, it kind of is. So it's really weird. It's really bizarre. I don't know how to explain it, you guys. Again, you know, I'm incorporating, this is Connie's, I don't know if it was a drawing of hers. And again, this is just all writing, black and white writing. And I wish I would have incorporated more of that writing into the figures, and I didn't. But, you know, I'm being influenced by Connie's, like the way she puts the robed figures, and like this figure is inside of this figure type of thing. This is all very Connie-esque, I guess is a good word. Again, now this over here is Connie's work over here. See this part here and this part, and I think this part, I can't remember now. In this spread, I'm having trouble distinguishing what is Connie's and what is mine. I was highly influenced by the way she does her pen and ink drawings, and I did leave a lot of that, but I think this is all mine and I'm mimicking it. So again, you know, this is all very Connie-esque, you know, the figures inside of figures, the robes. I'm getting very comfortable now with painting blue faces, and I got rid of these mental blocks that I had, etc. Now, again, you know, just all these like, I think honestly, before I started working in this book, especially, I had a hard time with painting things that didn't make any sense. Like, you know, see all these like bubbles or whatever, circles, whatever, coming out of her head. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what is that? What does that even mean? Like, what is that? Well, I think from working in this book, I'm getting more comfortable with things not having to make sense. Like, they don't have to make sense. And that goes back to the love what you love. Like, I just love them. They just make me happy. Like, they don't have to make sense. A blue face, yeah, that just makes me happy. Circles coming out of her head, that just makes me happy. Another circle over here, you know, these dots over here. Like, you know, I'm just getting out of this, like, oh my God, like, this has to make sense. And, well, that's so weird. And, you know, I'm getting out of it because if I question myself, I just go, oh, you know, wow, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. So even though I did not incorporate anything from Connie's visual language, like whatever was on the page, I did not include it in my art in this particular spread. I am highly, highly, highly influenced by Connie's work. And I think it's because I spent, you know, time just going through each of her pages before I even picked up a paintbrush. Now this over here, this is all Connie's over here. This is Connie's, and this word, these words over here, this is Connie's as well, and it says "and you fly free," and I absolutely love it. And there's a bird, I included that. This is all Connie's, 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 and this part over here is Connie's, and maybe like some of this is Connie's as well. And I'm just getting more and more comfortable with just stepping outside my comfort zone. And honestly, the more you work in a book like this, the more comfortable you're gonna get with just getting in touch with the things that make you happy, the things that you love. Now, this is all Connie's over here, this black and white part over here. This is Connie's right here. And this says, you can create if you want. And she left a few words here, so I included them. And, you know, I'm just getting more and more comfortable with just kind of trying to step into more of a stance of empowering myself to do whatever the fuck I want. I'm sorry for the language, but, you know, I used to be like so constricted in my painting where like I was so outwardly focused, like, well, this has to make sense because blah blah blah. And working in a book like this, you're just like, well, you know, everything I've learned about color theory says that, you know, these two colors don't go together, and what does this even mean? And the background and the foreground, they're all kind of mixed up. But you know what? It works. And I think it works because Connie is just doing what she loves. It's like the love what you love. It doesn't have to make sense. And I think I'm just getting more and more comfortable with that kind of mindset. And I'm really starting to embody it. So again, you know, these figures are not me, but they are me. And I don't think I included any of Connie's, whatever was on this page, I covered it all up. But it's still influencing me. Now this is Connie's over here. You know, some of these marks over here are Connie's, but you know, these figures are mine, but they are highly influenced by her work. Now, I really love this spread. I don't know why, it just appeals to me. There's something about this spread that just draws me in. And again, I don't think I included anything of Connie's work. Now, I think this was Connie's face, and I probably worked over it, but you know, it still largely remained Connie's face, whatever was on this page. But you know, it's still mine. So I'm just getting more and more comfortable with letting go of preconceived notions of, you know, the way something should look. Now this is all Connie's over here. Connie's colors, very highly influenced by Connie. And with each page that I do, I am just getting more and more comfortable with letting loose. Now, I'm very highly influenced by Connie's robed figures over here. And I just love all these like little quirks. Like, it doesn't have to make sense, you guys. It just doesn't. That's a whole great thing about art and creativity. I mean, if you look at Dolly stuff, I mean, nothing makes sense. It's, you know, a peek into his fantastical mind. I know when I visited his museum in Barcelona, well, it's just outside Barcelona, and he has like the weirdest things. Like he has a one-legged lady with a crocodile for a purse or something like that, or just the most bizarre things. And it works because it's him, he's just doing him. So I think this is where I stopped in my flip through. When I did the flip through of Painting the Feminine, I can't remember. But, this is all Connie's work, and I'm just getting more comfortable with stepping outside of my comfort zone. I had a really big mental block about drawing faces that had no facial features and that were colored. And I had to do a lot of deep diving, a lot of journaling, a lot of getting in touch with my stunted beliefs that I had been programmed with growing up. And I had to confront those head on. And, with each page, I'm getting more and more comfortable with drawing and painting colored faces and faces that don't even have any facial features, like over here. Like I used to have a big problem with this. And I think that's all Connie's over there, and I made it part of her hair. And some of these I did make videos about, some of these spreads. And this isn't really complete. It's complete for right now, but I'm gonna go back in and kind of, I did make a video on this one. And I also made a video on this one, and I did point this out before, but the interesting thing about this one is, now I think I started off working in sequence, like, so I worked on this page and then I worked on this page, but then somewhere along the way, I didn't do that anymore. I just kind of, opened a page and said, hey, do I want to work on this? So I stopped working in sequence at some point. And what I did is I worked on this spread first, and no matter how much I worked on it, I could not reconcile the images in a way that was pleasing to me. Now I set my intention and I stuck with my intention, which was I wanted to retain a certain percentage of Connie's work. And the interesting thing about this is I worked on this first. No matter what I did, I just could not, like, it was just like, oh my God, I cannot like this spread. But it didn't matter, because then when I went to work on this spread, after working on this spread, whatever I learned in here allowed me to transform a spread that was highly, highly, highly not my visual language, but I was able to allow Connie's work to still remain. Like, this is all Connie's. Like, I didn't even put anything on here at all. Some of this is Connie's, and all this, like, the background, if I bring it up a little bit closer, like, you can still see Connie's work. It's transparent. I was able to turn this from something that I did not like into something I really love, but I still retained a lot of Connie's work. So that's what I mean when you work in a book like this. You might work on a spread like this and not, like, you're like, well, I didn't learn anything from that. Like, I didn't meet the goal that I set. I hate this. No matter what I do, it's just looking like, terrible. I'm not happy with it, blah, blah, blah. But then when you go to work on another spread, everything you learned doing this, it just kind of came out, in a way that I couldn't really even articulate. Now this one over here, I'm really, really loving. It's not complete, but I'm really loving the way it is turning out. And I left this particular part. This is completely Connie's face over here. I think I went over it a little bit in blue, and this is Connie's as well, 100%. This sun over here, now I think I made it smaller, and this is Connie's over here, but the rest of it is I've put stuff over top of it, and I'm really loving it. I just love this spread, and I don't think it's done, but I'm really loving the way it is. And then this one over here, And I videotaped this spread when I was doing it, and I really do love this spread as well. And this one over here. So anyways, you guys, I hope that this video has been helpful. If you are going to be working in this particular book, I would recommend that you kind of, you know, just spend some time, like spend a couple of weeks and just go through each page slowly and just kind of digest it, like look and see, like, you know, what do you love? What do you not like? You know, what colors appeal to you, etc., etc. And then, you know, if you want to work it in sequence, then work in sequence. If you don't, like, really, you guys, anything is the limit. Like, you can turn this upside down, you can do whatever you want to do, and you can set a different intention. So for this intention, I could say, hey, I only want to keep 10% of Connie's work and I want it to be 90% mine. Or I could say, I want to keep, you know, I want to switch it around and I want to do 90% of Connie's work and only 10% of mine. Like, you can set a different intention for every single one, and you know, there's no limit to how you can work in a book like this. Anyways, you guys, I hope that this has been helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.